1. Let's talk about this 1985 Ford F-150 I found on Marketplace for $4,500. I've got to be straight with you. This one's definitely a project truck. The seller's being upfront that it needs work and requires a trailer to move it, so let's not sugarcoat anything here. What we're looking at is a black F-150 with some interesting potential, thanks to that massive 460 big block engine under the hood. They've put a new carburetor on it, and those 3815 Swamper tires tell us someone was planning to turn this into a serious mud truck before the project stalled. The truck's had just 2 owners, which is pretty good for a vehicle this age. But here's the real talk. This isn't a daily driver in its current state. The seller's honest about it needing work, and when someone says, "Bring a trailer," that usually means there's significant work needed to get it running properly. However, if you're looking for a project truck with a solid foundation, that big block 460 is a fantastic starting point. This could be worth considering. For $4,500, you're essentially buying potential here. It's got good bones with that powerful engine, but you'll need to be ready to invest time and money to either finish the mud truck build or take it in whatever direction you want. Just make sure you factor in the cost of repairs and transportation when considering this price. Remember, sometimes the best projects start with honest sellers who are upfront about their vehicle's condition, and that seems to be what we have here. 2. Let's check out this 1984 Chevy C10 I found on Marketplace for $8,000. I appreciate when sellers are honest about their vehicles, so let's break this one down. This white C10 with a blue interior has covered 124,000 miles, which isn't bad at all for a nearly 40-year-old truck. It's powered by a 305 V8 paired with an automatic transmission, and according to the seller, it drives good. That's always promising for a classic truck. Now let's be real about the condition. The seller's being upfront about some issues. There are hail dents on the roof and hood, and you'll find surface rust in various spots. However, importantly, they mention there are no rust holes, which is actually pretty good for a truck of this age. The AC needs a recharge, but the heater works, which is a plus. On the positive side, it's got good tires, new wipers, and comes with a clean Texas title. Being a Texas truck typically means less serious rust issues compared to trucks from northern states. The seller describes it as super straight, which suggests the body panels are well aligned despite the hail damage. For $8,000, you're getting a classic C10 that's drivable, but needs some cosmetic attention. These trucks have been climbing in value, and they're getting harder to find in solid running condition. While it's not perfect, it sounds like a decent driver that could be gradually improved while being enjoyed. Remember, with any classic vehicle, you're buying both character and potential projects, and this one seems to be honestly represented by its seller. 3. Let's talk about this 1979 Ford Ranger that's listed for $14,500 on Marketplace. I've got to be honest, this price point makes me raise an eyebrow a bit, so let's analyze what we're looking at. This is a long bed Ranger with 110,000 miles on the clock, sporting a matching blue exterior and interior, which is pretty cool if you're into that classic color coordination. The seller mentions it's only had 2 owners, which is impressive for a 44-year-old truck. They've put in a new transmission, which is definitely a significant plus and a costly upgrade that adds value. The seller mentions it has AC and heat, but they're pretty brief with the description, which leaves a lot of questions unanswered. For a truck asking $14,500, I'd really want to know more about its mechanical condition, any restoration work done, the state of the body and frame, and whether that 110K mileage is original. Being completely straight with you, while late 70s Ford trucks are becoming increasingly collectible, $14,500 is sitting at the higher end of the market for a '79 Ranger, unless it's in exceptional condition. The minimal description doesn't give us enough information to justify that price tag confidently. If you're interested in this truck, I'd strongly recommend seeing it in person and asking for detailed maintenance records, undercarriage photos, and more information about its history and condition. While it could be a gem, at this price point, you need to know exactly what you're getting into. Remember, classic trucks are cool, but make sure the price matches the condition and the market reality. Don't let nostalgia cloud your judgment when making such a significant investment. 4. Let's talk about this 1985 Dodge Ram Charger I found on Facebook Marketplace for $4,500. This classic SUV from the 80s is showing up in blue inside and out, which is a pretty clean color combo. The seller claims it's in good shape with no rust or dings, which is actually impressive for a vehicle pushing 40 years old. With only 3,000 miles reported, though we might want to verify that number, as it seems unusually low for its age, and a clean title, this could be an interesting find. The Ram Charger comes with an automatic transmission and runs on gas, and according to the seller, it runs and drives with no significant issues. These old-school SUVs were built tough, competing with vehicles like the Ford Bronco and Chevy K5 Blazer back in the day. At $4,500, if everything checks out as described, it could be a decent deal in today's market where vintage SUVs are gaining popularity. Just remember though, with any vehicle this age, you'll want to do a thorough inspection before buying. Even if it looks clean now, these old trucks often need some TLC to keep them running right. But if you're into classic SUVs and don't mind potentially dealing with typical old vehicle maintenance, this Ram Charger might be worth checking out. 5. Let's check out this 1979 Chevy Silverado C10 Scottsdale Big 10 that's up for $5,500 on Marketplace. I've got to be straight with you. This is one of those classic trucks that shows its age but still has some life left in it. The seller's being honest about the rust situation, mentioning there's a little bit but not too much, which is pretty typical for a truck from '79. What's interesting here is the work that's been done. They've recently replaced quite a few important parts, including the starter, cap and rotor, ignition coil, and the whole ignition wiring system. The engine's been rebuilt with about 70,000 miles on the rebuild, and the transmission was also rebuilt with around 60,000 miles on it. They've even put in new flooring in the cab, which is a nice touch. The truck's rocking a brown exterior with a blue interior, classic 70s combo right there, and has covered 169,000 total miles. It's got an Edelbrock carb, which is a solid upgrade, and it's currently serving as someone's daily driver. That's actually a good sign because it means everything's working well enough for regular use. At $5,500, considering the current market for classic C10s and the mechanical refreshes it's had, this could be a decent deal if you're looking for an old-school truck with character. Just keep in mind you'll be dealing with some typical old truck issues. That mentioned rust will need to be addressed at some point, and these old carbureted engines need regular attention. But hey, if you're into classic trucks and don't mind a project that you can still drive while you work on it, this might be worth checking out. The seller seems pretty straightforward about the truck's condition, which is always a good sign. 6. Let's dive deep into this 1981 Chevy El Camino that's popped up on Marketplace for $12,000. You know, El Caminos are fascinating vehicles. They're part car, part truck, and all character. This particular one is a Conquisto model, which was basically Chevy's way of making a fancy El Camino back in the day. The seller's done some significant work here. We're looking at a fresh black paint job that really changes the game on these vehicles. Inside, they've redone the interior in burgundy, which is actually a pretty sophisticated choice that works well with the black exterior. It's running a 6-cylinder engine paired with an automatic transmission. Now, while some folks might wish it had the V8, these straight-six engines are actually known for their reliability and decent fuel economy. With 90,000 miles on the clock, it's got plenty of life left if it's been maintained well. Let's talk about the upgrades. Those new Cooper tires on 14-inch wheels aren't just for show, they're practical and should provide a good ride. The power windows and door locks were pretty luxurious features for 1981, showing this Conquisto was a higher-end model in its day. The clean title is definitely a plus, and the seller's being upfront about it needing a little more restoring. Now, let's be real about the price. $12,000 is asking a fair bit, but El Camino values have been climbing. These vehicles are becoming increasingly popular with collectors and enthusiasts, especially clean examples like this one. The combination of new paint, new interior, and the Conquisto trim level does help justify the asking price, though you'll need to factor in any additional restoration costs. For potential buyers, here's what you should look into. First, check what remaining restoration work is needed. This could affect your total investment. Second, inspect the undercarriage for any rust issues common to these models. Third, verify all those power accessories are working properly, as they can be expensive to fix. Remember, this is a cash-only, pickup-only deal, so you'll need to plan accordingly. If you're in the market for a classic El Camino that's been partially restored and don't mind putting in a bit more work to make it perfect, this could be your ticket to owning a piece of automotive history. Just make sure to give it a thorough inspection and maybe negotiate a bit on the price, considering the remaining work needed. These vehicles are really unique. They offer the comfort of a car with the utility of a truck bed, and they've got a style that just can't be replicated in modern vehicles. Whether you're looking to cruise to car shows or just want a cool classic daily driver, an El Camino like this could be a great choice. 7. Let's talk about this really interesting 1981 GMC Caballero that's listed for $12,190. For those who might not know, the Caballero is essentially GMC's version of the El Camino, and they're actually rarer to find than their Chevy cousins. This particular Caballero looks pretty special with its white exterior and black hood stripes, paired with a black interior. What really catches my attention is the claimed 21,567 miles, which is incredibly low for a 40-plus-year-old vehicle, though you'd want to verify this, of course. It's got a V6 engine paired with a manual transmission, which makes it more engaging to drive than the automatic versions. Some nice features here include a manual sunroof, which is pretty cool for a vehicle of this era, a Kenwood radio with upgraded speakers, and a practical spray-on bed liner. The power mirrors are a nice touch, though it's got manual windows and locks, keeping things simple and potentially more reliable. The dealer, Lucky Motors, seems to be an established business with 25-plus years of experience, and they're offering financing options. However, let's talk about that $12,190 price tag. It's on the higher end for a Caballero, but if that mileage is genuine and the condition is as super clean as they claim, it might be justified in today's market where these car-truck hybrids are gaining popularity. What makes this interesting is that Caballeros are generally harder to find than El Caminos, especially in clean condition. The manual transmission also adds appeal for enthusiasts. However, I'd strongly recommend a thorough inspection to verify the mileage and overall condition before making a move at this price point. If you're looking for a unique piece of automotive history that combines car comfort with truck utility, this Caballero could be worth checking out. Just make sure to do your due diligence, as the dealer notes they're not responsible for description errors, and verify everything in person before making any decisions. 8. Let's check out this 1980 Chevy 1500 that's up for $6,500 on Marketplace. I've got to be honest, the seller's description is pretty minimal here, only telling us it has a good body and good-sounding motor, which leaves a lot of questions unanswered. What we do know is that this classic truck has logged about 100,000 miles and comes with a manual transmission, which is always fun for truck enthusiasts. The exterior is charcoal-colored, though interestingly, there's no mention of the interior color. It's running on gasoline and comes with a clean title, which is definitely a plus for a truck this age. Now, I've got to point out that the super brief description is a bit of a red flag. When sellers don't provide much detail, it often means you need to be extra careful during inspection. While they claim there's no significant damage or problems, you'll definitely want to verify this in person. At $6,500, you're in the ballpark for a decent C10 from this era, but the price really depends on the actual condition. These early 80s Chevys are getting more popular with collectors and customizers, but they're also 40-plus years old now, so expect some age-related issues even if it looks good on the surface. The seller's open to trades, which might give you some negotiating room. If you're interested, you'll want to check for the usual suspects: rust in the cab corners and bed, frame condition, transmission health, and how well that good-sounding motor actually runs. These trucks are generally pretty solid workhorses when maintained well, but at this age, everything needs to be thoroughly checked out. Remember, these old Chevys are relatively simple to work on and parts are usually easy to find, which makes them great project trucks if you're mechanically inclined. Just make sure to do a thorough inspection before making any decisions, especially given the limited information provided. 9. Let me tell you about this 1976 Ford F-150 I found on Marketplace for $4,500. I've got to be straight with you. This is an interesting piece of American truck history that needs some honest discussion. This F-150 is a 404 model powered by a 390 FE engine paired with a Borg-Warner T18 4-speed manual transmission. It's rocking Dana 40 rear and Dana 60 front differentials with manual locking hubs. That's some serious old-school 404 hardware right there. Now, let's be real. The seller's honest about its condition. While it runs and drives, it needs to be trailered, which is a red flag we can't ignore. However, there's a silver lining here. The owner has done extensive work on it. We're talking about a complete brake system overhaul, upgraded carburetor and intake manifold, new timing chain, and numerous gasket replacements. The bed floor has been replaced with diamond plate, which is actually pretty practical. The brown exterior and black interior are classic 70s styling, and at $4,500, you're looking at a project truck with good bones. The extensive list of recent replacements shows someone's put real effort into maintaining and upgrading key components. But here's the truth. You're not buying a daily driver here. This is a project truck that needs more work despite all the recent repairs. The fact it needs to be trailered tells us there are still significant issues to address. For the right person who loves classic Fords and isn't afraid of some wrenching, this could be a rewarding project. Just go in with your eyes open and expect to invest more time and money to get it fully roadworthy. 10. Let's talk about this 1972 GMC C10 I spotted on Marketplace for $3,000. I'm going to keep it real with you about this classic pickup. This C10 comes with the classic 3-on-the-tree manual transmission. That's a column-shifted 3-speed for those who might not know, and has 68,000 miles on the clock. The white exterior paired with the gray interior is a clean, simple combination that these trucks wore well. Now let's be honest here. This is definitely a project truck. The seller's being upfront that the bed needs to be finished, which is a pretty common issue with these old trucks due to rust and wear over time. It's running well according to the seller, but it's sporting drum brakes all around, which isn't ideal by modern standards, but period correct for these trucks. At $3,000, you're looking at an entry-level classic truck price. These C10s are becoming increasingly popular for restoration projects, and parts availability is generally good. The relatively low mileage is a plus if it's accurate. But let me be straight with you. While it might be a good running truck as stated, you should expect to put in some work and money. The unfinished bed is just what's mentioned. You'll want to do a thorough inspection for rust and mechanical issues. These trucks are known for their simplicity and durability, but we're still talking about a 50-year-old vehicle. For someone looking to get into classic trucks without breaking the bank, this could be a decent starting point. Just go in knowing you'll need to invest some time, effort, and additional money to get it where you want it to be. 11. Let's talk about this 1957 Chevrolet 3600 pickup that's listed for $12,500 on Marketplace. I'm going to give you the straight scoop on this piece of American history. This 57 Chevy truck is sporting an overhauled 235 straight-six engine paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's the original style powertrain these workhorses came with. The seller has clearly invested some serious time and money into this truck, and I'll tell you why that matters. They've done some significant upgrades and replacements. We're talking about an aluminum radiator, great for better cooling, new brake lines, safety first, fresh gas tank and lines, and new wood in the bed. They've also thrown on new tires and wheels, plus new chrome bumpers, though they're not shown in the photos. The brown exterior with black interior gives it that classic vintage look, and at $12,500, you're in the ballpark for a well-maintained 57 Chevy truck. The seller claims it runs and drives great, which is promising given all the mechanical refreshing that's been done. Here's the honest take. While this isn't a show-quality restoration commanding $30K plus, it appears to be a solid, drivable classic that's had the important mechanical bits addressed. The price reflects a truck that's been maintained and upgraded while keeping its original character. For someone looking to get into classic trucks with something they can actually drive and enjoy, this could be a good option. Just remember, it's still a 66-year-old vehicle, so expect some quirks and ongoing maintenance. But with the major systems already addressed, you're likely getting a classic you can enjoy right away, rather than a project that'll sit in your garage for years. 12. Let's check out this 1984 GMC Suburban C20 that's up for grabs at $5,000 on Marketplace. I'm going to give you the real deal on this classic square body. This is a 3/4-ton two-wheel drive Suburban showing 85,000 miles, decked out in red inside and out. That classic 80s matching color scheme. Under the hood, it's running a 355 small block Chevy engine paired with a TH400 transmission, which is a solid, reliable powertrain combo that's known for taking a beating. The seller's done some nice upgrades here. They've fitted brand new 31 WEGS 10.5x15 tires on 15x10 rims. And there's an aluminum radiator with dual electric fans. That's a solid cooling setup that should keep this big boy running cool. The TH400 transmission is one of the most durable automatics ever made, so that's definitely a plus. Now let's be honest about the issues. The gas gauge doesn't work, pretty common for these old trucks, and it needs speakers installed, though the seller is including a new radio. These aren't major problems, but they're worth noting. At $5,000, you're getting a lot of vehicle for the money. These square-body Suburbans are gaining popularity, and finding one that runs and drives great with some meaningful upgrades isn't always easy. The red-on-red color scheme might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's period correct and has that awesome 80s vibe. For someone looking for a classic family hauler or a cool vintage daily driver, this could be a solid choice. Just remember, it's still a nearly 40-year-old vehicle, so expect some typical old vehicle quirks and maintenance needs. But with that robust drivetrain and the cooling upgrades, this Suburban looks ready to hit the road and turn some heads. 13. Let's talk about this 1983 GMC S15 4Air4 that's listed for $6,500 on Marketplace. I'm going to give you the straight story on this little classic pickup. This S15 has covered 120,000 total miles. But here's something interesting. It's got a replacement engine that was installed at 85,000 miles and has only run about 45,000 miles since then. It's rocking a manual transmission, which is always fun in these small trucks, and it's dressed in blue inside and out. The seller has clearly invested heavily in this truck, with over $6,000 in new parts. Let's break down what's been done. New brakes, CV joints, tie rod ends, ball joints, shocks, windshield, carpet, stereo, dual exhaust, wheels and tires, and a new carburetor. That's a pretty comprehensive list of updates that addresses most major wear items. Now let's be honest about the issues. The driver's door has some problems. It's hard to shut, and the window doesn't work. That's typical for these old trucks where door sag and window regulators often give up. But it's something you'll want to fix for daily use. At $6,500, considering all the new parts and the relatively fresh engine, you're looking at a solid deal for a classic 4x4. These S15s are becoming increasingly popular as affordable classics, and finding one that's had this much mechanical attention is pretty rare. For someone looking for a vintage 4x4 that's been mechanically sorted but isn't afraid of a few minor projects, like that door, this could be a great buy. Just remember, while it's had lots of work done, it's still a 40-year-old truck, so expect some other small issues to pop up here and there. But with all those new parts, this little S15 looks ready for many more miles of adventure. 14. We're taking a closer look at a 1972 GMC C10 that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller is asking $10,000 for this classic pickup truck, but they're also open to trades. Let's dive into the details and see what this C10 has to offer. First off, it's important to note that this truck has been driven for 199,585 miles, so it's definitely seen its fair share of the road. It comes with an automatic transmission, which makes it easy to drive, and the exterior and interior are both finished in a sleek black color. Now, let's talk about the seller's description. They mention that this C10 has a 2WD cut-down short bed frame and the original short bed box, even though it's titled as a 1972 GMC. The truck has been upgraded with CPP, Classic Performance Products components, including drop spindles and 6-lug disc brakes, which should improve its handling and stopping power. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 small cam engine paired with a Teach 400 transmission, which the seller says runs and drives great. However, it's important to note that the truck does have some rust in the cab and bed floor, and the satin black paint is in okay shape, but not perfect. The seller is asking $10,000 for this C10, but they're also open to trades. They specifically mention being interested in LS1 or LS2 powered cars like GTOs, Camaros, Firebirds, Corvettes, and Caprice PPVs with DOD delete. They're also interested in 2WD or 4x4 Power Strokes and Duramax trucks. Overall, this 1972 GMC C10 seems like a solid project truck for someone who's willing to put in some work to address the rust issues and maybe give it a fresh coat of paint. The upgrades to the suspension and brakes are definitely a plus, and the 350 engine should provide plenty of power for cruising around town or hitting the highway. As always, it's important to do your own research and inspect the truck in person before making any decisions. If you're interested in this C10, be sure to reach out to the seller and ask any questions you might have. And if you're considering a trade, make sure you have a clear idea of the value of your vehicle and what you're willing to offer. 15. Let's talk about this 1972 Chevrolet Suburban Super Cheyenne that's up for $6,400 on Marketplace. I'm going to keep it real with you about this classic family hauler. This is a pretty special Suburban. It's a Super Cheyenne trim with only 2 previous owners and 145,000 miles on the clock. What makes it interesting is the factory 402 big block engine, which Chevy marketed as a 400 back then, and it's loaded with options like front and rear AC and tilt steering. Pretty fancy stuff for 1972. The green-on-green color combo is pure 70s style, and having the original build sheet in the glove box is a nice touch for authenticity. However, and this is where we need to be completely honest, this is not a running vehicle right now. The seller mentions the engine turns over smoothly, but it's not currently running, which means you're looking at some work to get it roadworthy. Let's talk about the rust. It's got the typical rust issues these 67-72 Suburbans are known for, particularly in the tailgate and the driver's side lower door area. These aren't just cosmetic issues. They'll need proper attention if you want to preserve this piece of history. At $6,400, you're paying for the rarity of the options and the potential of a highly optioned Super Cheyenne Suburban. However, be realistic. This is a project vehicle that will need mechanical work to get running, plus body work to address the rust issues. For someone who appreciates these rare, optioned-out Suburbans and has the skills, or budget, to restore it, this could be a worthwhile investment. Just go in knowing you'll need to invest significant time and money beyond the purchase price to get this big green machine back on the road. 16. Let's talk about this 1985 Chevy 2500 that's listed for $3,000 on Marketplace. I'm going to give you the straight scoop on this lifted square body. Let's start with the elephant in the room. This truck isn't currently running. It's got the classic ran when parked story and needs transmission work. However, the seller is including a turbo 350 transmission and 2 transfer cases with the deal, which is actually pretty valuable if you're planning to rebuild. The truck's got some interesting features. An 8-inch lift that'll definitely turn heads, and it's powered by a 350 small block Chevy engine, when it's running that is. The body is reportedly clean with minimal rust, which is actually pretty rare for these old trucks. The white-on-white color scheme is classic 80s style. Now, about that 12,348 miles showing, given the age and condition, I'd be skeptical about whether that's actual mileage or if it's rolled over. It's always good to be realistic about these things. At $3,000, you're looking at a project truck that needs some serious mechanical attention. The good news is that these square body Chevys are relatively simple to work on, and parts are readily available. The included transmission and transfer cases add value if they're in good shape. For someone who knows their way around a wrench and wants a project with potential, this could be a decent starting point. The clean body and lift kit are definitely pluses, but be honest with yourself. This isn't a jump in and drive away situation. You'll need mechanical skills, or a good relationship with a mechanic, and some additional investment to get this truck back on the road. But with some work, it could be a pretty sweet lifted square body when it's done. 17. Let's check out this 1981 Ford F100 Custom that's listed for $10,000 on Marketplace. I'm going to give you the honest rundown on this classic Ford. First off, let's clear up the listing confusion. This is actually an F100, not an F150, which was Ford's lighter-duty pickup from this era. It's showing 118,000 miles and comes in an off-white exterior with a blue interior, which is a classic 80s color combo. The good news first, the truck's got a relatively fresh transmission with only about 4,000 miles on it. That's a major expense you won't have to worry about. They've also upgraded to LED headlights, installed new taillight housings, and replaced the thermostat and housing. It comes with a locking toolbox, which is always handy. Now let's be honest about the imperfections. There are some minor dents and scuffs on the body, the bed liner needs to be redone, and the door lock covers have fallen off, though the seller still has them. These aren't major issues, but they're worth noting at this price point. At $10,000, you're in the territory where you expect a pretty solid classic truck. The price might seem a bit ambitious, but the market for these vintage Fords has been climbing. The new transmission is definitely a value add, and if the rest of the mechanicals are as solid as described, it could be a reliable classic driver. For someone looking for a classic Ford pickup that's ready to drive and enjoy, this could be worth considering, though I'd probably try to negotiate on the price. Just remember, even with the recent updates, it's still a 42-year-old truck, so expect some typical old vehicle quirks and maintenance needs. But overall, it seems like a clean example of an increasingly popular classic truck. 18. Let's talk about this 1951 Chevrolet 1.2-ton flatbed truck that's listed for $12,000 on Marketplace. I'll give you my honest take on this piece of American history. This is a partially restored 51 Chevy, sporting an eye-catching orange exterior with a gray interior. It's got the manual transmission, which is exactly what you'd expect from a truck of this era, and the seller notes it still has its original radio and some original parts. That's always a plus for authenticity. Now, the description is pretty brief, which honestly makes me a bit cautious at this price point. While it's listed in good condition, with no significant damage or problems, the term partially restored can mean a lot of different things. We'd really want to know more about what's been restored and what still needs attention. At $12,000, you're in the middle range for these early 50s Chevys. The flatbed configuration is interesting and could be either original or a later modification. That's something you'd want to verify. These trucks are becoming increasingly collectible, and their simple mechanics make them relatively straightforward to work on. For someone looking for a classic post-war Chevy truck with some restoration already done, this could be worth investigating. However, I'd strongly recommend getting more details about the restoration work completed, the mechanical condition, and any remaining projects needed. While it might be a solid truck, at this price point, you deserve to know exactly what you're getting into. These trucks can be great investments, but clarity on condition and history is crucial. 19. Let's check out this 1971 Ford F-250 that's listed for $12,500 on Marketplace. I'm going to give you the real scoop on this classic Ford. This truck is rocking a 360 V8 engine, which is a solid, torquey power plant that Ford put in these trucks back in the day. It's paired with a manual transmission, which adds to the vintage driving experience. The orange-on-orange color scheme is pure 70s style and definitely makes a statement. The seller seems genuinely attached to this truck. You can tell by the way they talk about it, and they claim it runs great and just purrs. That's promising to hear about a 52-year-old vehicle. They also mention minimal rust, which is always something to verify carefully on these old Fords. as they were prone to rust issues. At $12,500, you're in the territory where you expect a well-maintained, solid classic truck. The price reflects the rising market for these vintage Fords, especially ones that are reported to run well. The 360 engine is known for its reliability and torque, making it a desirable option in these trucks. For someone looking for a classic Ford truck with character, this could be worth checking out. However, I'd strongly recommend a thorough inspection of those minimal rust areas. Even minimal rust in the wrong places can be costly to repair. Also, verify all the mechanicals, as these trucks often need various bits of attention even when they're running well. The orange color scheme and manual transmission make this a unique example, and if it's as solid as described, it could be a good investment in today's classic truck market. Just remember to verify everything carefully. At this price point, you want to be sure you're getting a solid truck that won't need major work right away. 20. The 1979 Chevrolet Silverado, also known as the K20, is a classic pickup truck currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace for $5,500. This particular model has a 350 engine with a 4-bolt high nickel block and a mild cam, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission that has recently received a new flywheel and clutch. The truck has been driven for 29,564 miles and comes with a clean Oregon title and up-to-date tags. The exterior of the truck is brown, while the interior is tan. It runs on gasoline and is fully paid off. The seller mentions that the truck runs and drives great, and the 4x4 system is functional. There is minimal rust on the body, and the seller includes a patch for the front right fender. The truck has new tires all around, and all maintenance is up to date, making it ready for daily driving or any jobs you may have. The seller is not interested in trades and prefers to negotiate the price in person rather than over messenger. It's important to note that while the seller claims the truck is in good condition and ready for daily use, it's always recommended to inspect the vehicle in person and, if possible, have a mechanic check it out before making a purchase. As with any used vehicle, there may be underlying issues that are not apparent in the description or photos. In conclusion, if you're in the market for a classic pickup truck with a strong engine, manual transmission, and 4x4 capabilities, this 1979 Chevrolet Silverado could be a good option to consider. Just be sure to do your due diligence and inspect the truck thoroughly before making a final decision.